People are the same wherever you are. If you stay near or if you go far, they all need the same things as you and I, even if they don't always see eye to eye. All people are people, they're people like us. All people are people, they're people like us. All people are people, they're people like us. I like you to meet some, you'll find it a plus.
Welcome. Good morning, ethicals. I've been practicing this for a week. Good morning, ethicals.
Good morning.
Thank you so much
Good morning.
for joining us.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
And taking a moment to bring us all together. My name is Vandra, and I'm a regular member of the Brooklyn Society for Ethical Culture, where we open with a couple of rituals. And first is the lighting of the candles. If I could please have the next slide, and if you want to, please read along with me. Each week, we light candles of understanding against the shadows of our times. This, for us, is a sign of our standing together with people who have sought goodness, sometimes at great risk. So I've lit my battery candle here. Secondly, we pause for a land acknowledgement. So if you know the indigenous tribes that are in your neighborhood, would you please post them in the chat? So we acknowledge that for generations, we have exploited, lived, and worked on the unceded territories of indigenous peoples across the United States. Let us, in our quest for justice, commit to learning how to be better stewards of the land and allies to indigenous communities. And finally, thank you so much for posting it. And our final opening ritual is to take a moment to remember those who have died, friends and neighbors, and to in fact pause to remember all of the atrocities that are happening across the planet. We'll just take a minute. I will ring my bell. We'll just have a minute to reflect, please. And again, please read along with me. The dead are not dead if we have loved them truly. In our own lives, we can give them a kind of immortality. Let us arise to take up the work
left unfinished.
Thank you. So this is a special occasion for all of us. We're here to celebrate and remember how we got here. We're going to see some fabulous historical videos, thanks to the archives of Dror Khan. Then Dror is going to check in with members, 6 or 7 members from across the country. And then we're all going to break out into small rooms where we can share how we got to ethical culture and what it means to us. So before we go there, can we please see this video?
The religion that Felix Adler started is headquartered in New York at the American Ethical Union. Natalie Koritz is the archivist.
The young men who supported Adler and called him back to start an ethical culture movement were young men formed in a union called the Union for the Higher Life. They began to see that Adler's ideas of a religion of ethics was a possibility, and to at once occupy that common ground where we all meet, believers and unbelievers, for purposes in themselves lofty and unquestioned by any. Diversity in the creed, unanimity in the deed. This is that practical religion from which none dissents. This is that platform broad enough and solid enough to receive the worshiper and the infidel. This is that common ground where we may all grasp hands as brothers, united in mankind's common cause.
The essential preoccupation of those who started the ethical movement was to defend and to rescue the human spirit. They were part of their time, and obviously you had problems, social problems, that were crying out for a reassertion of the worth of the person.
The insight that Adler and his early colleagues, as well as his early members, brought to the ethical question was a practical insight. Their agenda was based on their reading, not just of the world around them, but of what they predicted the world around them was going to become. And they set themselves the task of working these out concretely.
This is Algernon D. Black. The following is a quote from the index of the Free Religious Association in 1878. The secret of Dr. Adler's remarkable success, it lies even more in his faith in organization, his executive ability. Workers are no less needed than thinkers, and it is the phenomenal combination of both that made him a great success, a success not likely to be ephemeral.
The saying that we have in the ethical movement, which to me is the most inspiring, act so as to elicit the best in others and thereby in yourself. It is an aphorism that's applicable to both personal relations as well as the larger relations with the world. What we do does affect others, and the way in which we interact with others also determines our own character.
I think one of the very unique things about it has been its emphasis on the individual, and yet along with that a kind of broadening into a concept of the importance of group ethics, so that one thinks both about how do we respond to the dignity and the worth of each individual, and yet how do we build some kind of cohesive group ethic where we manage to both value the individual and yet recognize the importance of the group.
I think Adler's idea of the moral ideal, to hold up an ideal either in person or as an idea, is something that we can strive for, to become a kind person, to become a just person, to strive to become a more responsible person.
Adler was certainly completely right that we really grow and develop only in our relationship with others. And when we get engaged in projects and causes that we are concerned about, we become better people, not just because of our dedication to the project, but because we share with others, we learn from others, we correct our mistakes.
Of reading the message that Albert Einstein had sent to the New York Society for Ethical Culture, in which he said the essence of religion is ethics. When you strip away the superstition and the dogmatism, what you have left is ethics. That's the greatest idea in the world.
Thank you. I hope we are all a little misty-eyed from seeing some of our great forebears. And now from that, we're going to take a minute to go to Alicia Best, who some people may know is a wonderful musician, but more than that, she is not only a daughter of ethical culture, but a granddaughter of ethical culture. Take it away, Alicia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a band called A Different Thread with my husband based in the UK. And I also have a side project called the Answer Song Anthology, where I'm writing response songs to sexist folk and country songs. I'm gonna sing an original song for you all, and trying to touch on the theme. I think that a lot of ethical culture comes through my music because it is how I grew up. My grandparents were part of the society. My grandmother is still part of the society in St. Louis, and my father is a leader in Northern Virginia, and I grew up in the North Carolina Society. But this song is kind of about trying to find your inner light and seeing it in others and bringing out the best in others and yourself. Feel like I am drowning, that's how I talk about it. You can't see anything I'm drowning in. And you say I'm a beacon, but it's hard to believe it when I feel like one of those anglerfish. I'm afraid when I shine, it's just a trick of the light. I'm no more than a spark sent to lure you into the dark. Well, I'm not like Polaris, steadfast in her brightness. Guess I'm more like lightning, I'll strike then I'm gone. Light up the sky, I'm just not always so bright. And you can't rely on me guiding you home. I'm afraid when I shine, it's just a trick of the light. I'm no more than a spark sent to lure you into the dark. Oh, 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 Well, I know that it's not true. I know I'm shining with you. Sometimes I still feel like a deep water fish. Phosphorescence is our biggest defense against all this darkness down here in the Mariana Trench. I'm afraid when I shine, it's just a trick of the light. I'm no more than a spark sent to lure you into the dark. But you tell me, you know the dark, there are times when you have lost your spark and you don't have to shine all of the time. It's exhausting, but you're not alone. Sometimes lightning's all we need to guide us home. Oh, Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be here.
And some claps and hand waving from us all. Thank you. How very moving. Thank you so much. So before we go to our panelists, we have a couple of three quotes to read. And just thank Carolyn Parker for choosing these quotes. And let's go to the first, and off we are.
The ideal ends to which we attach our faith are not shadowy and wavering. They assume concrete form in our understanding of our relations to one another and the values contained in these relations. We who now live are parts of a humanity that extends into the remote past, a humanity that has interacted with nature. The things in civilization we most prize are not of ourselves. They exist by grace of the doings and sufferings of the continuous human community, the community in which we are but a link. Ours is the responsibility of conserving, transmitting, rectifying, and expanding the heritage of values we have received, that those who come after us may receive it more solid and secure, more widely accessible, and more generously shared than we have received it.
We are met as members of an ethical society. What are we here for? If I read our aims aright, we are here to work out new principles of life and action, believing in all that is good in the past, sustained by all those who have lived for righteousness' sake, to create a new world attitude which shall help us to satisfy the needs of today. These are not merely personal aims, they are common human aims, and therefore we are met together. No great work has ever been accomplished by a single person alone. The ethical movement rests with the men and women who compose it. As we are, so it shall be. The voice of one answering, I can, to the voice of duty is the divinest thing in all this universe. For that spirit which makes for righteousness becomes incarnate in man. And if we so answer and so live, then we shall rise in the light of that higher life.
Folks, the freedom of thought is a sacred right of every individual, and diversity will continue to increase with the progress, refinement, and differentiation of the human intellect. But if difference be inevitable, indeed welcome in thought, there is a sphere in which unanimity and fellowship are above all things needed. Believe or don't believe, we shall respect every honest conviction. But where there is nothing to divide, be one in action. Diversity in the creed, but unanimity in the deed. This is that practical religion from which none dissents. This is that platform broad enough and solid enough to receive the worshiper and the infidel. This is that common ground where we may grasp hands as brothers and sisters united in humankind's cause.
Thank you, readers. It's my privilege and honor to, I'm Dror Khan, I'm a member of the Brooklyn Society. Vandre asked me to edit some videos that I made in 1988 to show us how we got here. And I got to tell you, this has been a very, very, very moving thing. First of all, when I edited the videos, I realized that nothing much has changed. We are still living in a time that calls for, as Matthew Spetter said, uplifting humanity. There are problems in the world that face us that we need to deal with as an ethical society or as just civilized people. I found ethical culture about 40 years ago. I walked into a building for a rally about nuclear disarmament, and on the wall above the platform in the New York Society, it says, where people meet to seek the highest is holy ground. And that resonated with me. You could choose what's holy for you, what you seek to be the highest. And then the name of it, a society for ethical culture, not just of ethical culture. We're for it. We're activists. We want to make the world better. So now. And then editing videos that were made in 1988 of friends, some of whom are still here. I wrote Vondra and said, Vondra, I'm falling in love again, because I realized that falling in love is when you find something in yourself that you see in somebody else or in some other ideas. I hadn't had lectures about ethical culture, but then I heard these people talking about things that exactly talked to me, to what I believed. And I know I'm not the only one who loves ethical culture and loves this ideal, because I've spoken to others who've said, I love ethical culture. Yes, I love the idea of ethical culture. Before we go to see the video, I want to tell you one thing. It's a little bit of an aside. I had a bit of a problem because the videos were made in 1988, and New Year's Eve 1988, somebody came and said to me, 88 is a very, very powerful number because it's double eights. Eights are like infinity. How powerful is that? And I have a choice whether or not to believe that. I'm kind of skeptical that it really is powerful. And then I did some math, and we live in 2022, and 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. And I said, oh my goodness, we got 8s going all over the place. Now multiplied those 3 8s, and it equals 512, which is 5 plus 1 plus 2 is 8. And I thought, geez, this is what we're doing now is actually connecting the past and now is very, very powerful. But do I have the choice to do the math and leave out that 0 and just go 2 times 2 times 2? Well, it's actually 2 times 0 times 2 times 2. And some things you don't have a choice. Some things you have to take as what they are. But 2 times 0 times 2 times 2 times all those 8s equals 0. And guess what? 0 is even more powerful than 8 in numerology. So with that, we're doing something, I think, connecting ourselves, our past, our present, where we're going to in the future is potentially very powerful. We'll see how powerful it is after today. We can't know now. With that, thank you very much. I just want to tell you, Vondra, also that I connected all of this with my youth when I was very hopeful that technology can connect, communications technology can move us forward. And here we are using communications technology today and maybe in the future to do much more than could have been done when we were just like meeting in little rooms. This hope I feel very hopeful and very young, and thank you, Vondra. And now please play the video.
What religion did you grow up with?
I was Catholic.
And why did you switch?
Because it wasn't making logical sense to me. I couldn't make sense of the dogma. It just seemed illogical and not true, not real to me. In an emotional way, certainly some of the ethics that were taught were fine and were kind of self-evident in terms of practice, and those are things that I've carried over in terms of ethical humanism.
The word religion comes from the same root that ligament comes from. Legare. Relegare is to reconnect. And my religion, my ethical religion, connects me to my friends, to my family, to the people I work with, to people I meet every day of my life. And the ethical aspect of my religion guides me in every interaction. It supplies the meaning, the purpose, and the reason for living the good life.
Religion for me because it provides moral guidance and an understanding of the reasons for pursuing certain moral issues and moral ethics, and I got into it because I wanted my children to learn about morality and to appreciate all of humanity.
It just seems very fundamental to me to have a religion that is not committed to some specific way of looking at the hereafter or God, or but to look at life as it is, and how do you move in this life in a fair way with respect to others, to contribute.
it's something that really adds meaning to what would otherwise be a very confusing and troubling kind of existence here. You know, I mean, when there's some sense of there's a goal to be strived for, an ethical goal, that gives me the sense that there's some reason to do what we do.
The ethical values and the world that people can make for themselves is the most important issue to which we can devote ourselves. I guess there's a kind of a faith in that we are basically optimistic and believe in progress when we say ethics is a religion. But I also think there's an open-endedness and an opportunity for people to make whatever kind of world they want to.
Way of life, of how one chooses to live one's life. And for me, it's important that I live my life and others live their lives, if possible, with regard for individuals as human beings.
A religion in the sense of I feel a certain loyalty to it. I feel a responsibility to work with it because I think that some of the issues that the ethical culture movement stands for are very close to my heart.
Such as?
Well, such as peace.
I think of religion as that which guides my life and which gives meaning to my life, which gives me the ultimate meaning for my life in all of my relationships within my family and with my friends and in my community, that it's ethics and how I behave in those relationships that is the most crucial working out of what I believe and who I am and the meaning of my life.
Yeah, I think religion comes down to what you believe and how you show that belief. For traditional religions, you might believe in a God and you might show that belief by going to church and worshiping. And ethics as a religion, your beliefs are more in your fellow man. You have to show your beliefs in how you act, how you relate to people, and how you work to make the world a better place to live in.
And I think the ethics is basically a commitment to man's highest ideal, to perfection and absolute fulfillment of what man could possibly do. And ethical culture is the way you can achieve that. Man, as with the ancient Greeks, when they practiced the first humanist religions, they made it so that man wasn't just an insignificant little thing on the face of the earth. Man actually meant something and he could do something. I believe that's what ethical culture is all about.
Ethics plays an important part whenever I have to make a decision and I look into myself. But also it helps with interactions with other people and the kind of energy that I get from human interaction. So I see ethics instead of something out here, it's between people, you and I.
I find that ethics as a religion is a road. I am not finding, like other religions want to find, the truth. I am finding the road by which I can be a better person, be more caring for other people, and the interaction with other people, which is very important to me. So to me, ethics is my religion. I live it every day. I try very, very hard to make sure that I try and work so that to elicit the best in others. And strangely enough, I have grown tremendously in the last couple of years, so it has elicited the best in me also, which is what Felix Adler, the founder of the Ethical Society, held as one of the imperatives, that was very important to try and do. And I feel that I am living ethical culture, but growing every day.
Thank you very much. There's some really interesting comments in the chat that we could discuss, and putting the corrections of names. I really appreciate that. We want to give everybody the recognition. And I'll tell you, if you don't understand why I felt goosebumps and love re-editing this, I don't know where you are. For me, it just like touches what I believe. Now, we will have a panel discussion. We've gathered people from around the country, from societies. We only could pick 6, so 15, 20 minutes that we can talk. And without spending much time, let me just kick it off right away and say with Trish from St. Louis. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you do what you do for ethical culture.
Thank you, Dror, and thank you so much for that video. It was so inspiring and exciting to watch. Amazing. Loved seeing all the familiar faces from long ago. Yeah, so my name is Trish Cowan, and I'm the president-elect in St. Louis, and I also have some roles within the AEU. I actually first discovered the Ethical Society and the Ethical Society of St. Louis when I saw an ad in 2005 for, at the time, what they were calling the Sunday School Director. And I looked into it and I was amazed. I'd never heard of anything like it. The core values really spoke to me, and I felt like finally there's actually a religion that I can say I believe. It was incredible. So since then, I became involved in the AEU through the ethical education program. At the time, it was called the Religious Education Program. And I also became involved in the greater humanist movement around the country, around the world, and especially became involved with the Teens Conference. The teens have an annual conference called YES, Youth of Ethical Societies. And so I started helping the teens facilitate that. They run it themselves. They're an incredible group of teens every year. Over the years now, my 18-year-old son Porter, my 15-year-old daughter have gone through Seek. They have graduated from coming of age. My son just graduated from the youth group. They've both been involved in YES and had leadership roles there. And my 5-year-old son Rush is just starting his Seek journey. And he already has wonderful relationships within it. Ethical culture has given us an identity as humanists, capital H, and our family is really proud to identify as humanist. We've also gained countless aunts, uncles, grandparents through our own society, and most importantly, opportunities for community and growth.
Thanks, Trish. On my screen, Tom, you're next. If you'll unmute. Tom is from Essex. He's also a board member, and we spoke a little bit before, and I know Tom has a choral group. If you could connect ethical culture and what you do at the society to music, that would be wonderful. But take it any way you want.
Thanks, Dror. Thanks for the opportunity to share and to be present with all of you. So I am the president of the board of the Ethical Culture Society in Essex County, New Jersey. And I am also the director of the Manhattan Choral Ensemble, a chorus in New York City. And I do think there's a strong connection between what I love most about the organization that I direct in New York and the organization I'm a part of in New Jersey. Essentially, both are about community building. The chorus in New York it's not a professional chorus, it's an avocational chorus. And it's 40 adults who get together every Thursday and create a community. We've been doing that for over 20 years together. In the same way, I love the fact that we are in New Jersey creating a sense of community in a time when many of us or many of my neighbors and friends don't necessarily have something that pulls them all together and get to spend time together thinking about things that are actually really important to us and getting to talk about them. Another thing that I think is connected between the two is in a chorus, you're creating something meaningful together. And really the meaning happens between. Some people have, I think, an impression that the conductor of a chorus kind of tells everyone else what to do. And that's not really how it works in a musical ensemble. We create meaning together. I just happen to be the one who's helping us focus in the same place. And in the same way, we in Ethical Culture Society are creating meaning between us. There's no central authority, no dogma. We're wrestling with the issues together that I think is a really meaningful way and impactful way to try and create something that's important to a group of people instead of receiving wisdom from someone else. I will just do a quick plug to say that also, Trish, my kids were very involved in the youth program here in Essex County. And in fact, I had to leave them because the youth group met this morning, and my children actually led the program. They're high schoolers, so they led the program today in New Jersey, which was a proud moment for me. So thanks, Dror, for letting me share a little bit.
Thank you, Tom. On my screen, Trang, you're next. Um, you could tell us yourself what you think, but I'm very interested why a person who's in, I'm kind of retired, but who's in mid-career, I imagine, finds the time and chooses to spend time to devote to a group like this, to us, to Wes, in your case, to ethical culture.
Thanks, Roar. And thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm Trang Duong with the Washington Ethical Society. And it's funny because a lot of people come to West because we drive by the building all the time. That's a very common, reason. You drive down 16th Street in Northwest, and what is that Ethical Society building? And so I think it kind of drew interest of a lot of people to come to West. And in particular, I came, actually, it was in 2015, about 7 years ago, because I had a New Year's resolution that year. I don't have them every year, but I wanted, it was very clear to me, I wanted a place where I could raise my daughter and provide basically what I call a religious home for her. But essentially, she was 6 at the time, she's now 13, a place where one, she would have other adult role models that I feel like would be good for her, and that she would have a place where she could learn about what it means to have a religion, what it means to be in community with each other. And I feel like that's one of the important things about West, is that we are in community together. And I think that really attracts us to each other. It keeps us together as a community, as a people with shared values, who understand that it is about, deed before creed. And I think that was one of the things that really excited me about West, was the idea that, I've always, from even, as a child, in high school, I did, social justice kind of work, and through college and afterwards. And I felt like, it's always been my idea that if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem, right? To be really involved is important to me. And I've, worked on a number of different issues throughout my life. And I feel like, West is extremely important to me because of the ideal that, social justice, anti-racism work is paramount to who I am as a person, and also to our community, our congregation at West. I currently serve as the president of the board, and I am really excited about just supporting West. And I think, during the best of times, it's great because we're all together. And right now is actually when we need each other more, because of we're still in a pandemic and we're still working through that. So I feel like, that's been one thing, just working to keep each other together, and to understand that we are all stronger as a community. And that's what keeps us moving forward.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you very much. And I love that background. It's a silk painting, right? It's beautiful. On my screen, we have Austin, Nathan, and Courtney. I can say that we're very interested, myself, in how it connects, because Austin, what we hear about Texas, in New York, we read a lot about Texas, and it's very scary, frightening. So if you could tell us about your society and maybe how it connects to what's happening in Texas, that would, in your work. Thanks.
Thank you. So we are Nathan and Courtney Kingery. We are both board members of the Ethical Society of Austin.
We're also both high school English teachers.
Quickly, I would like to say how we found the Ethical Society, and then I'll answer the question. So I believe, 6 years ago now? Somewhere in there. 2017. I had recently left my religion of Christianity that I grew up with, and I was exploring different religions, and I happened to read Enlightenment Now by Steve Pinker. And in that book, he started talking about humanism. This led me to Google around, try to find a local humanist organization, and that's when I found Austin, Ethical Society of Austin. So connecting with our community in Austin, I'm sure many of you as you just said, are terrified of some of the current events and the implications happening in the state of Texas. And we consistently try to address those in the community. But personally, what really connects me to the community is I have always struggled a lot with ADHD. And left on my own, I tend to abstract a lot. So the first meeting we went to at the Ethical Society of Austin is what is called a colloquy, where there is a topic and we each share our personal point of view on that. And it is suggested that we try not to speak from abstraction, but from personal experience. And this helps me with my ADHD because on my own, I tend to think in abstraction, but that helps me get out of the abstraction, think into my own lived experience. And then of course, there is deed before creed. I take that personal experience and channel that into deed. And that process is very helpful for me. And with all the terrifying things going on right now, the community is trying to do our best to help, particularly women, obviously, at this moment, who are struggling with some of the current events.
I think for me to say that Texas is becoming a scary place, there's definitely some truth to that. But thankfully, Austin sort of seems to be this haven in Texas. A lot of people from Texas will jokingly say that Austin is not Texas, but it definitely is Texas. We're from California, and so coming to Texas was a big culture change. And then a few years later, we found ESOA, and we have found our people, because every single current event, everything going on in our state between gerrymandering, voting rights, the rights of women, the rights of workers, our society is very passionate about addressing, discussing, and brainstorming about all of those things. And so I really would like to say that ESOA is sort of a meeting of the souls rather than a meeting of the minds, because like Nathan said, the deed before creed really does seem to help ground everyone together, because we all do have very different backgrounds, different views philosophically on things, but we constantly remind each other and ourselves to ground it in what we do have in common. And so I would like to say that ESOA really is a place for us to use as a guiding compass for our lives. We grew up in religion, traditional religion, and seeking that sense of community and that sense of connectedness to one another was something that I was struggling with for a while after having left that traditional religion. So when he told me, let's go try this ethical culture thing, not knowing what to expect, we didn't know what we were going to walk into, but that colloquy is what sold it for me. I felt immediately welcomed and immediately understood, which is not very common to feel understood right away. And so I just like to say that ESOA really provides us not just a community, but a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose. And there has not been a single moment in the last 5 to 6 years that I have not felt supported, seen, and cared about.
Wow. Thanks to both of you. On my screen, Kim is next. Kim and I serve on the same board, and we've gotten to know each other, and I could go on quite a bit about how wonderful she is in so many areas of her life, because I know her well, I think, kind of well. Anyway, but Kim, talk about whatever you wish, but please tell the group about this Hope dinner. That I think that's a goosebump thing for me.
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I guess I'd like to start off by saying how I got here. And, I come from a family that was heavily into civil rights and activism. So I was surprised when I found myself the vice president of one of the top 2 banks. And I became a single parent by choice. I adopted a little girl. And one of the parents in my daughter's school said, there's this place where they babysit. And I was just like, really? So we took our kids to the Brooklyn Society for Ethical Culture, and someone said, I think it was Fiona maybe, that said, stay for the platform. And I did, and I was just so impressed with what I heard there and how for lack of a better term, I found the people at the society at that time were like Minutemen. Like someone would say, we're all meeting here to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And I don't know, I was somewhere with the Gray Panthers protesting something, and it was just wonderful. Every week I could go and protest or lend myself to something. And, you know, my daughter grew up 20 years later, and I have found the ability to be with the people who are ethical people. It was amazing that you never know who you're sitting next to in our societies. You know, I wish we all had signs that said, I'm involved with this, I'm involved with that, I'm involved with that, I'm involved with that. If you need help with this, talk to me about it. Or I know someone who might be able to help you with something else. We're just not alone here. And that's why I keep coming back, because there's always someone. And I just remember Warren Miner, he's just one of these wonderful, wonderful people. And I was interviewing him for a news story that we were doing in our newsletter. And when he started talking about the history of the society and everything that he was involved with, you just, like Drew was saying, you just get goosebumps of our predecessors and who we are standing in their shoes. So I'll just say this one quick thing about the Hope Dinner, which is what you're always asking me to do. I think 29 years ago today was the very first Hope Dinner. And what the Hope Dinner is, it's a dinner where people with AIDS and HIV get to come and be in community and get great gourmet food, take food home, and just, it's all about them. And one of the members of the Brooklyn Society created this 29 years ago, Donna Roberts, with another person, Janine Diaz. And different people from this society have been keeping it going, mostly Janine, actually. And so today we're going to meet, and we're going to meet at the Brooklyn Society of Ethical Culture, because since the pandemic, they lost their home. And so we moved them into our home, and they have been meeting there for over a year. So I'm taking 4 quiches, 3 packs of brownies, and 2 pound cakes. Vondra always makes something wonderful to bring to the dinner. And when you hear people who are immune compromised in a pandemic, it really just says how wonderful being a person of ethics is, because I don't have a horse in this race. But at the same time, I have grown to love these people, and they love me. So that's it for me, Drew.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for doing the Hope Dinner. I don't know if and Vondra and the people who do it. I think that's such a, you know, to actually put the rubber to the road, or whatever, the, you know, actually do this stuff is really important. I know some societies have shelters. It's really, that's one of the things, is the little really to do. Next, and not least, but Patty is from one of our almost newest societies. I was told, Patty, that Atlanta is a newer society. You can't hear me? What happened? Do you hear me? Yes. You're muted, Patty.
I do. Go ahead.
Okay. Patty's from Susquehanna. I had to ask her where that is. I was told it's in the middle of Pennsylvania, which is as far away from me in the head as Austin. And Patty, tell us about your new society, your role, how you got it started. I think we would like to know.
Sure. Yeah, I know many of you are very interested in how this Susquehanna Valley Ethical Society, which finds itself smack in the middle of Pennsylvania, we have no grand cities within, hours of us. Our capital, Harrisburg, is an hour southeast of us, and that's really the closest city we have. We are in Bible Belt area. We have churches that have popped up all over us, and their parking lots are full. Very fundamentalist religions that just encircle us. So to have a humanist group here is quite a feat. So yeah, how did we come about? Well, on a personal level, I retired from teaching after 26 years being a 5th grade teacher. And after I left teaching, for a while, it was really great. I really enjoyed not being involved with anything and just exploring, the world beyond a classroom. But after a few years of that, I started really missing a community. Leaving my coworkers, and I since also left church. I had become Catholic after I married my husband, who was Catholic, and very much after the Catholic situation with priests, and I just was like, okay, this is enough. I left a religion and left a belief in any supreme being behind, though I don't really think I had that belief anyway. Just wasn't, making it known to anybody. So I came across humanism. And I was, just searching, what was out there for someone like me. And the American Humanist Association popped up in my searching. And that sort of gave me the, what I was looking for. It helped me refine my values. But it lacked community because there weren't any humanist groups here where I lived. And I became a member of the AHA and got their monthly magazine. And there was something there about the American Ethical Union, an article. And so I was really interested in that and began my research again, and actually came across some of Hugh Taft Morales's recorded platform talks, and I fell in love. Gotta say, I fell in love with Hugh. As a person, what he would share on those platforms, and I wanted something like that. And so I wrote to the AEU. I said, how do I go about starting a society right here? And they sent me a wonderful packet, a folder full of great information, and I was excited. And I tried to find some folks, but I'm going to be honest, the people that I knew were not at all humanists. I mean, they were very much involved in a religious setting, and I found no interest. So I sort of put it back on the back burner and continued watching platforms and that Hugh had. And then I guess it was 2016, I got involved with the Bernie Sanders campaign. And then I started meeting a lot of different people and getting Facebook connections with people who were Bernie supporters, and finding out there were people who lived around me who shared values that I had, who were non-theistic in nature, who, I gotta say, non-theistic for me is not being anti-theistic. So I reached out to these individuals and said, hey, might you be interested in starting up a community? And they were all in. So we started meeting the summer of 2016 in a little coffee shop. Actually, it was a bookstore coffee shop, a Barnes and Nobles, that is operated by Bucknell University, which is in Lewisburg. Its home is in Lewisburg, where our society meets. So we met there at least once a week, all through the summer. We got Richard Coral, and love Richard. Richard mentored us through the process, working through all of that information that I had gotten, a number of years prior. And we decided that September, we were going to go out to the community, go public, published an article in our local newspaper, letting everyone know in our viewing area that we existed, and we were going to have our first program in October in a very progressive coffee shop called Cherry Alley Cafe. And Cherry Alley Cafe, the owner actually gave us the space there after they closed Sunday afternoons for free. All we had to do was come in a little bit early before closing and buy coffee or pastries or get a sandwich or whatever. And that way we could, continue meeting in that space. And it was
Patty?
beautiful.
Thank you. I know that there's another part. We're running out. We're not going to have time for the break. No, it's great. It was great. I don't mean to. I'd love to hear it more, and I'd love to hear.
I didn't realize 3 minutes was so quick.
I don't even know if it's 3 minutes. It doesn't. But anyway. Like nobody's mad at me, right? Was I rude? I don't mean to be. It was very well told, and the way that you built it to me, with a little coffee shop, a little bookstore, like you don't need a fancy building, you don't need a lot of people, you just need people to do it.
That's right.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly.
And that people need it. And I want to remind, just to me, that ethical culture is not just humanism. It's what Adler said, it's a platform big enough for everybody, who believes in ethics. Anyway, I think I've finished this interviews, and it's time now for the breakout rooms. Thank you all very, very much. Nice to meet you. I hope we see each other in person one day soon. Vandra, you're muted.
Do you hear me?
I do.
That's great. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, lovely panelists. So beautiful to see you all. So beautiful to see you all. Thank you. Lovely story to share. Now, the big thing is we have breakout sessions, and we are all going to go off to a breakout room, hopefully maybe 5 or 6 people per room, and then let's just share our stories about how we got together. I do have a note here, actually, the most important underscore, and it's to underscore what Drew said, which is the value of each of us. We put in countless hours in volunteering for our societies, in producing events, in building little networks and clubs in our societies. And so my desire for this whole platform was really to be a song to all of us. And thank you so much for leading off. With that in mind, let's go to the breakout rooms. All right.
Hello, everyone. The question for the breakout rooms, actually 2 questions will be, why did you choose ethical culture? And why do you love ethical culture? And any variation of the above. You're going to get a prompt on your screen to join a breakout room. Please just click join, and you'll be brought back here in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, just hello, welcome back, folks. And then I was just saying that in this little pause while people come back, if you would like to put something into the chat that says how you got to ethical, why you love ethical, and then actually if there's an individual in ethical that you'd like to call out, we are going to grab all of the chat and have a little view of it to see what we can edit for something in a newsletter, should we say, from the AAU to us all, to say how the grassroots, how we, the members, feel about our societies. And there we go. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been a wonderful day. The next thing we've got to do, if you don't mind, is to make a contribution to the AAU. And here is the slide to go to the AAU.org. Is there a link in the chat, please? If there is a link in the chat to go to the AAU to make a donation, please know that we all survive and by making a contribution to ourselves. We are not, as they say, underwritten by any huge dioceses or major religions or organizations or corporations. And we have one final closing musical piece, and we'll go to that. While we're there, please fill in the chat. And afterwards, we're going to go to the breakout rooms of our own societies. And you can go to your own society or go to another society's breakout room, as you wish. But I also want to say thank you very much to the team that helped put this program together. In particular, Karen Parker, Phyllis Marquette, Bart, Jake, Draw, and Tati. Thank you so much. And let's go to our anthem from another, I have to say, Brooklyn member.
Atlantic and Pacific floor, the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico, the land between sustains us all to cherish it, our tireless call. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire and lift our voices from the fire. We reach these shores from many lands. We came with hungry hearts and hands. Some came by force and some by will, at the auction block or the darkened mill. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire and lift our voices from the fire. We died in your fields, in your factories. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. With an old coat hanger in a room somewhere, a trail of tears, an electric chair. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire and lift our voices from the fire. And our great responsibility to be guardians of our liberty, till tyrants bow to the people's dream and justice flows like a mighty stream. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire and lift our voices from the fire. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire and lift our voices from the fire.
Thank you all so much for a wonderful program. Please take a moment to visit a local ethical, your own or somebody else's. And a special thanks to folks who put the program together. Special thanks to our panelists. And thank you all for coming.